Welcome to the USS Pentagonal. Iran's violent airstrikes against Israeli territory have raised tensions in the region to a new high. The attention has now switched to Israel as a result of the ballistic missile and drone strikes that were in response to orders from Tehran. What then will Israel do at this point? In what manner would the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, make his decision? A re-engagement of the Israeli War Cabinet has taken place in order to seek the answers to these concerns and to establish a roadmap for the development of preparations against Iran. Following the conclusion of the meeting that was intended to discuss Israel's reaction to an assault by Iran, the War Cabinet finally met. Israeli authorities stated that Israel intends to punish Tehran for the drone and missile onslaught, which represents Tehran's first direct attack on Israeli soil. This statement was made after the meeting. However, they also pointed out the challenges that arise when trying to find a solution that eliminates the possibility of additional escalation, maintains the alliance that was instrumental in preventing the attack, and does not derail the war objectives in Gaza. It was stated by Israeli officials that the War Cabinet meeting included discussions on a number of different options, each of which was a harsh reprisal against Iran, but did not result in a regional war. This was despite the fact that there were complications. To put it another way, Israel had made the difficult choice and put itself in a position where it would punish Iran. In addition to attempting to put an end to the turmoil in the West Bank, Israel is engaged in combat with Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah on its northern border. When the circumstances are how they are, a strike of retaliation against Iran might place Israel under a significant amount of pressure. Israel is currently facing pressure to re-establish its deterrence against Iran, which comes in the midst of appeals for prudence from its friends. On the other hand, in spite of everything that has happened, the Israeli War Cabinet's willingness to respond to Iran instills a great deal of confidence in its populations. The question now is, what would the retaliatory response of Israel against Iran look like? A declaration issued by Yoav Gallant, the Minister of Defense of Israel, was one of the earliest statements made regarding this matter. Yoav Gallant, Israel's Minister of Defense, stated in an appeal to Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America, that Israel has no alternative but to retaliate to Iran's missile and drone attack that occurred over the weekend. After this, Michael Oren, who had previously served as the Israeli ambassador to the United States, provided an insightful analysis for consideration. It was said by Mr. Oren that Israel will respond to Iran in a strategic manner that would not compromise the possibility of regional and international collaboration. On the other hand, there is a particular group within Israel that is advocating for a significantly more severe, retaliatory strike against Iran. Additionally, they urge that action be taken to advance the fight against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. There is already dissatisfaction among the right-wing supporters of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, due to the fact that the ground operation in Rafah has not yet taken place and does not appear to be imminent. This is because Israel has evacuated the majority of its troops from Gaza. Because of this, Israel has decided to call upon 2 reserve brigades to reinforce Gaza in the next days. But in order to carry out any substantial operation, additional soldiers would be required. In the present moment, followers of Netanyahu are likewise seeking a robust reaction against Iran. On Sunday, Israel's Minister of National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, stated that in order to establish a sense of deterrence in the Middle East, Israel needs to take much more decisive action. While this was going on, Chuck Freilich, who had previously served as Israel's Deputy National Security Advisor, stated that if Israel did not take action against Iran or in Rafah, it may further undermine Netanyahu's already diminishing electoral support. At the same time, Freilich continued, Israel has the ability to adapt the strategic cooperation that assisted it in endure Iranian aggression into a bond that is more long-lasting. On the other hand, according to Freilich, this would necessitate Netanyahu demonstrating a willingness to support the post-war plan proposed by the Biden administration, which would combine Israel's agreement on a road to the establishment of a Palestinian state with normalization discussions between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Similar to the previous point, Israeli security analysts claim that Israel has a variety of alternatives for response rather than a massive escalation, and that this allows Israel to avoid overextending its forces that are now stationed in Gaza, along the northern border, and in the West Bank. In accordance with these possibilities, where regions of Iran are Israel anticipated to launch an attack? Among the retaliatory options that Israel has against Iran include the possibility of carrying out targeted attacks against significant state-owned assets, such as Iranian oil infrastructure. According to the assumptions of analysts, Israel has in the past targeted Iranian personnel and infrastructure associated to Iran's nuclear program without admitting responsibility for its actions. It is possible that Israel may do so again, but this time in a more overt manner. There is also the possibility that Israel could respond indirectly by attacking one of Iran's proxies in the region, in addition to directly attacking Iran. This is something that analysts are considering. It is highly improbable that Israel would launch an attack against Iran's major nuclear facilities due to the fact that these facilities are located deep underground and would require the approval and aid of the United States government. For this reason, Seema Shine, who is the head of the Iran program at the Institute for National Security Studies, stated that based on considerable intelligence gathered by Israel, it is more likely that attacks will be carried out against pre-selected military targets located within Iran. In addition, Shine is of the opinion that Iran will avoid civilian and economic facilities in the event that Israel goes on the offensive. In spite of the fact that speculations regarding the prospect of an Israeli retaliatory strike are always on the menu, there is also the possibility of another scenario occurring. Within the context of this scenario, it is possible that Israel will decide to delay taking retaliatory action against Iran until a later point in time. This is due to the fact that Iran may provide Israel with a justification to provoke a significantly more severe response and reprisal in the future. If Israel were to opt to delay its retaliatory response, it is highly likely that the United States side would also desire this to happen. In point of fact, the presidency of the United States is already working on this. President Biden encouraged Israel to take caution in any reaction to an attack by Iran and pressed allies for a united diplomatic front on Sunday. The goal of this effort is to prevent hostilities from growing into an open war that might engulf the Middle East and entangle the United States. Biden stated that the United States was committed to Israel's security and desired a truce that would send the captives back home and prevent the violence from spreading beyond its current location. This statement was made during a meeting that took place on Monday with the Prime Minister of Iraq, Mohammed al-Sudani. Additionally, at his discussion with Netanyahu on Saturday evening, President Biden stated that the Israelis must move with prudence in order to prevent an assault from Iran, which culminated in a successful joint operation. Following their participation in the major show of collective defense that took place on Saturday, the United Kingdom and France made efforts to de-escalate tensions and urged Israel to exercise restraint in order to avert escalation not just in the Middle East region, but also in the wider region. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, stated on Monday that the French should support Israel to the greatest extent possible in order to guarantee its safety, but that it was essential for them to demand a limit in order to prevent the situation from becoming more severe. In the meantime, on Sunday, the leaders of the G7 issued a statement in which they condemned the attack that Iran had carried out on Israel. They also expressed their support with the Israeli people and urged that there be no further escalation of tensions in the Middle East. According to a senior European diplomat who was engaged in the discussions, officials from Japan, Canada, and Europe were apprehensive about allowing Israel too much of a berth in order to respond to the strikes. Additionally, regional actors have chosen a strategy that involves backing with Israel while not supporting behavior that escalates the situation. The Saudi Arabian government and the United Arab Emirates have reached a confidential agreement to share intelligence. In addition to announcing that it would permit airplanes from the United States and other nations to enter its airspace, Jordan also stated that it would use its own aircraft to assist in intercepting Iranian missiles and drones. Jordan made this announcement in response to Israel's request for a truce in Gaza. In a nutshell, nations all around the world publicly condemned Iran's reckless airstrikes while simultaneously attempting to prevent Israel from further increasing tensions in the region. On the other hand, it is not apparent what direction the Israeli government will make in the years to come. Despite calls for prudence from around the world, some war experts believe that Israel's retaliatory action against Iran could take place very soon. Thank you for following us.